The courtroom lights flickered, and suddenly everything stopped. Every whisper, every camera flash, every heartbeat seemed to freeze in midair. Because what played next wasn't just evidence, it was betrayal. "This is a recorded call from Clifford Harris." The robotic voice echoed through the speakers, and the silence that followed was louder than any scream. Kandi Burruss sat motionless, her hands gripping the phone as if it might burn her fingers. Across the room, Tiny Harris looked up, eyes wide, tears already forming. She knew that voice. She loved that voice. And now that same voice was destroying her. The courtroom gasped as T.I.'s words filled the air, raw, unfiltered, devastating. He wasn't talking to Tiny. He was talking to someone else, someone the world didn't know yet. Gasps, shock. The judge called for order, but chaos had already begun. Because if this tape was real, it didn't just expose T.I., it exposed everyone. And somewhere between truth and manipulation, one question echoed louder than all the rest. Did Kandi just reveal the truth? Or did she just start a war none of them could control? The courtroom had never felt this cold. Every eye was locked on Kandi Burruss as she stood beside the witness stand, her fingers trembling slightly as she adjusted the microphone. The air buzzed with anticipation. Reporters leaning forward, attorneys whispering nervously, cameras flashing despite the judge's repeated warnings. Everyone knew something was coming. No one knew it would be this. Kandi took a slow breath, her voice calm but heavy. "Your Honor," she began, glancing briefly toward Tiny Harris before continuing, "I was asked to submit this recording as evidence." A murmur rippled through the courtroom. The defense attorney for T.I. immediately rose to object, but before he could speak, Kandi pressed play. The courtroom speakers crackled. Static filled the air for a brief moment. Then came the unmistakable voice of Clifford T. Harris. "This is a recorded call from Fulton County Jail." The robotic announcement sliced through the silence. Every head turned toward T.I., who sat frozen at the defense table. His jaw clenched, but his eyes never lifted. Across the room, Tiny stared at him, her lips trembling, eyes wide with disbelief. She already knew what was coming, but hearing it was something else entirely. "Yo, you there?" T.I.'s voice echoed again through the speakers, casual, steady, but laced with a kind of confidence that now felt cruel. "Yeah, it's me," replied a woman's voice on the other end, soft, familiar, and definitely not Tiny's. The room collectively gasped. Kandi didn't flinch. She just let it play. "I told you, don't say nothing yet," T.I.'s voice continued. "Let me handle it. She doesn't know the full story." The other voice laughed, quiet, low, mocking. "You think she won't find out? You can't hide this forever, Tip." T.I. paused for a long moment before replying. "She won't find out if you do your part. Just keep quiet. It's almost over." The judge's gavel slammed. "That's enough," he barked. But the damage was already done. Tiny covered her face, her shoulders shaking as silent tears streamed down her cheeks. Every reporter in the room was already typing furiously, fingers racing to feed the next viral headline. The perfect couple, the empire built on loyalty and love, shattered in 1 minute of audio. T.I.'s attorney demanded the recording be dismissed as inadmissible and maliciously obtained, but the prosecution didn't back down. "Your Honor," the prosecutor said sharply, "this recording directly contradicts previous testimony. The court deserves to hear the truth." T.I. still didn't look up. His hands were clasped tightly together, knuckles pale, a quiet storm brewing behind his stillness. He said nothing, but his silence said everything. Tiny finally lifted her head. Her mascara was streaked, her voice trembling. "That's not him," she whispered. "That can't be him." But deep down, she knew. She knew that voice better than anyone. The subtle shift in tone when he lied, the pauses between excuses. This wasn't new. It was just the first time the world was hearing it. The judge ordered a short recess, but the courtroom had already erupted into chaos. Reporters shouted questions. Security struggled to clear the aisles. Kandi stepped away from the stand, her expression unreadable. Tiny's lawyer rushed to her side, whispering something she didn't even hear. She just sat there, body motionless, mind spinning with questions she didn't want answers to. The news spread like wildfire. Headlines lit up every screen. Kandi Burruss leaks T.I.'s jail calls. Tiny Harris breaks down in court. Within minutes, hashtags exploded. TI betrayal, Kandi leak. Tiny Break's fans were already divided online, some calling Kandi a hero for exposing the truth, others branding her a traitor. Back inside, TI slowly turned toward Kandi. Their eyes met for just a second, long enough to reveal anger, fear, and something else neither could name. Kandi looked away first. She hadn't wanted it to come to this. But when she'd received that recording anonymously weeks ago, she knew it was only a matter of time before someone else used it. At least this way, she told herself, she was controlling the story. Tiny's hands trembled as she reached for her water glass. Every sound in the room felt amplified. The shuffle of papers, the clicks of cameras, the faint hum of fluorescent lights. She felt trapped in a nightmare she couldn't wake from. For years, she had stood beside him through everything. Rumors, headlines, late-night whispers. But this was proof. This was betrayal, caught on tape. From the corner of the courtroom, someone whispered, "They said there's more than one recording." Tiny froze. Her breath caught in her throat. More? How many? How much worse could it get? She looked toward TI again, searching his face for anything. Guilt, apology, regret. But all she saw was distance, cold, practiced distance. Kandi finally exited the courtroom surrounded by her team. Cameras flashed like lightning as reporters chased her down the hall. "Kandi, did you leak the call yourself?" "Why now? Was this revenge?" She didn't answer. She just kept walking, jaw tight, eyes straight ahead. Meanwhile, back inside, Tiny remained seated, staring at the empty witness stand. She could still hear the echo of his voice looping in her head. "She won't find out if you do your part." That single line replayed over and over until it almost felt like a threat. A bailiff approached her softly. "Ma'am, court's in recess. You can step outside." She nodded slowly but didn't move. For the first time in her life, she didn't know what to say, what to feel, or who to trust. Because the truth wasn't just out, it was viral. And now, no matter what anyone said, no matter how many statements TI's team released, the world had already decided what it believed. Tiny wiped her tears, her voice barely a whisper. "He promised me no one heard it," she said. But the cameras caught it. By the time the footage hit social media, her quiet heartbreak had become the internet's loudest noise. The chaos had turned into a storm. Crowds gathered behind barricades, shouting, filming, live streaming. Commentators and bloggers filled their feeds with theories, half-truths, and heavily edited clips of the leaked recording. Everyone claimed to have exclusive sources, but no one really knew what was happening inside. If the truth still existed, it was buried under 1,000 headlines. Tiny sat in a black SUV parked near the side entrance, her face hidden behind oversized sunglasses. Her publicist scrolled through her phone, whispering updates, trending hashtags, public reactions, statements from Kandi's team. Tiny wasn't listening. She just stared out the window, watching the crowd move like waves. "They're eating it up," the publicist said quietly. "We need to say something soon." Tiny finally spoke, her voice soft but sharp. "Say what? That I didn't know? That I was stupid enough to believe him?" She shook her head. "No, not yet." Kandi sat in a conference room with her attorney, her phone buzzing nonstop. Calls from producers, journalists, even old friends pretending to check in. "You realize what you did, right?" her lawyer said, pacing back and forth. "That recording was sealed. If they prove you released it without authorization..." "I didn't leak it to the press," Kandi cut in firmly. "I played it in court. That's different." Her lawyer gave her a look that said it wasn't different at all. Kandi sighed, leaning back in her chair. "They needed to hear the truth," she muttered. Tiny needed to hear it. But the truth wasn't as simple as she made it sound. Because hours before the trial, Kandi had received another file, a second recording. Shorter, distorted. But with one unmistakable voice. It wasn't TI. It wasn't Tiny. It was someone else. Someone giving instructions. "Play the call," the voice said. "It'll make everything fall into place." Kandi didn't know who sent it. The email vanished minutes later, as if it had never existed. She told herself she was doing the right thing, but deep down, something about it didn't feel right. T.I. was pacing in a small private room off the courtroom. His lawyer stood in the corner, shouting into the phone about legal strategy, but T.I. barely heard him. The recording played on repeat in his head. He knew the call was real. He just didn't know how they got it. She wasn't supposed to have that, he muttered under his breath. His lawyer turned, brow furrowed. What do you mean? T.I. shook his head. It don't matter. It's done now. Social media exploded again. Not because of the first leak, but because a new video had surfaced. Someone had filmed the courtroom moment on their phone, zooming in on Tiny's tears and slowing the footage down. The caption read, "Watch the exact second Tiny realizes it's over." Within hours, the clip had over 3 million views. Comment sections filled with heartbreak and cruelty in equal measure. "You could see her soul break," one user wrote. "She should have known who she married," another replied. Kandi scrolled through the comments, unable to sleep. Her notifications were chaos, some calling her brave, others calling her a snake. Then a message popped up from an unknown number. "You did what we needed. Stay quiet now." She froze. The number wasn't saved. There was no name. She deleted the message, but the words stuck in her mind long after the screen went dark. Tiny hadn't made a statement. She hadn't posted. She hadn't spoken to T.I. since the hearing. Friends said she was writing everything down. Names, dates, details. One claimed she was preparing her own evidence, something that would flip the story upside down. Others whispered that she was done. Not just with T.I., but with everything. Just when people thought the scandal had peaked, a new headline dropped. Second leaked call surfaces. A known woman claims Kandi isn't telling the whole truth. The clip was only 40 seconds long, muffled but clear enough to make out a few phrases. "You said it would help her," a woman's voice said. "You said it would fix things." Another voice, possibly Kandi's, replied, "It will, once it's out." The internet went wild. Was Kandi part of something bigger? Had she been manipulated? Or was she the one doing the manipulating? Inside her home, Tiny listened to the new clip with trembling hands. Her mother sat beside her, watching quietly as the audio played. "Do you believe her?" her mother asked. Tiny shook her head slowly. "I don't know what to believe anymore." She turned the volume down, staring blankly at the wall. "All I know is, someone's lying. And I'm going to find out who." Later that evening, T.I. released a brief statement through his team. "The truth always comes out. I stand by mine." It was vague, almost haunting. Fans dissected every word, every comma, every silence. Meanwhile, sources claimed T.I. was preparing his own evidence, something that would prove Kandi's motives weren't pure. The lines were drawn. Team T versus Team Kandi versus Team Tiny. The internet had become its own courtroom. Everyone a juror, everyone a judge. At midnight, an anonymous account posted a short video montage of all three, Tiny, Kandi, and T.I., with the caption, "They're all hiding something. Wait for the drop." Within minutes, the post vanished. But screenshots flooded Twitter and Instagram. Whispers began. A new leak was coming, one that would end careers. Tiny didn't sleep. The air in her house felt heavy, almost electric, as if something was waiting to happen. Every sound made her flinch. Her phone buzzed once. She hesitated before picking it up. A text from an unknown number. "They told you not to trust her." No name, no context, just that. She turned the phone face down, her heart pounding. For the first time, she wasn't sure if this was still about love, betrayal, or something far darker. Miles away, in a dim room lit by flickering monitors, a figure scrolled through the chaos. Tweets, comments, theories, outrage. A faint smile crossed their face. "They took the bait," a low voice murmured. "Now, let's see how far they'll go." The morning after the second leak, Atlanta woke up to a city on fire. Not in flames, but in headlines. Every radio show, every gossip site, every podcast was talking about one thing: the voice in the second call. Reporters swarmed outside the courthouse again, cameras ready, hoping for another explosion. But inside, silence. the kind of silence that felt like the world was holding its breath before something bigger broke loose. Tiny Harris hadn't left her house in days. Her blinds were drawn, her phone turned off, except for the rare calls to her lawyer. On the kitchen counter lay a notebook, pages filled with scribbled notes, names, dates, screenshots printed and stapled together. She was piecing it all together, trying to understand how the story had spiraled this far. Every time she thought she'd figured out who betrayed her, another leak proved her wrong. Her lawyer had warned her, stay off social media. But curiosity always won. She grabbed her burner phone and scrolled through Twitter, reading theories that cut like daggers. One post caught her eye. Tiny wasn't the victim. She was part of the deal. Don't fall for the tears. She closed her eyes and took a deep breath. Even after all this, they still thought she was acting. They didn't understand. None of this was performance. This was pain, raw, public, and real. Meanwhile, Kandi Burruss was doing interviews. Not long ones, just short, carefully controlled conversations designed to shape the narrative. In one morning show clip, she said calmly, "I didn't leak anything outside of court. What happened was bigger than me." Her tone was steady, her expression unreadable. But behind the practiced poise, even Kandi knew. Whatever this was, it wasn't over. "I just wanted transparency." Kandi's voice was calm, but her eyes betrayed her. There was fear there. Not guilt exactly, but something close. Something that looked like regret. That afternoon, her assistant stepped into the office holding a small padded envelope with no return address. "It was left at reception," the assistant said. Kandi frowned, taking it carefully. Inside was a single USB drive and a note written in thick black marker. "You wanted transparency. Play this." Her stomach dropped. She plugged the drive into her laptop and hesitated before pressing play. A video flickered to life, shaky, grainy footage of what looked like a studio office. T.I. sat at a desk, talking to someone off camera. T.I. "So, it's handled?" Muffled voice. "It's handled. She'll take the fall." T.I. leaned back, exhaling slowly. T.I. "Good. I can't have this blow back on me." The clip ended abruptly, leaving the room in eerie silence. Kandi's pulse quickened. Who filmed this? And who sent it to her? Her phone buzzed. Another text from an unknown number. "Now you know he's not innocent, but neither are you." Her heartbeat thundered in her ears. She shut the laptop, palms trembling. She couldn't go to the police, not now. It was too tangled, too dangerous. Whoever was behind this wanted chaos. And they were winning. T.I. sat in a sleek downtown office with his publicist and crisis manager. His face was drawn, exhaustion etched beneath his eyes. "We need to get ahead of this," his publicist said, scrolling furiously through her phone. "People are turning. You're losing control of the narrative." Looked up slowly. "There's no controlling this anymore," he said flatly. "They want blood, and they'll get it one way or another." His crisis manager leaned forward. "Then fight back. If Kandi's leaking calls, leak something of hers." T.I. smirked bitterly. "You think I don't already have something?" He unlocked his phone, opened his notes app, and turned the screen toward them. "That's a transcript from a conversation between her and my producer. Same night she said she was done with all this." The room went silent. The manager frowned. "You sure this is real?" T.I. shrugged. "Doesn't matter if it's real. It just has to sound real." Back at her home, Tiny's phone rang. Another unknown number. She almost ignored it, but something made her answer. "Hello?" Silence. Then a man's voice, low, rough, and unfamiliar. "You think he's the only one who lied to you?" Click. The line went dead. Tiny froze. T.I. The sound of that voice, it wasn't T.I. It wasn't anyone she recognized. But something about it made her blood run cold. She grabbed her keys and started toward the door. Before she could open it, 3 slow knocks echoed through the house. She stopped, hand hovering over the handle. "Who is it?" No answer. Another knock. Then, a small envelope slid under the door. She stared at the envelope for a long time before finally picking it up. Inside was a single photograph, a still frame from security footage. It showed Kandi and T.I. in a hallway, whispering. At the bottom, scrawled in messy handwriting, "This was never about you." Tiny dropped the photo. Her hands trembled, her pulse pounding in her ears. She didn't know who was behind all this, but one thing was certain. Someone was in control. Someone who'd been one step ahead of all of them from the very beginning. And if they didn't uncover the truth soon, the next leak wouldn't just destroy reputations, it would destroy lives. So now we're here, deeper than ever in a story that refuses to die. The courtroom is quiet again, but the world outside is louder than ever. Everyone's got an opinion, everyone's got a theory, and no one really knows the truth. Was Kandi Burruss a whistleblower or a manipulator? Did T.I. deserve to be exposed, or is someone else pulling the strings behind the scenes? And where does that leave Tiny? Heartbroken, betrayed, and trapped in a game she never agreed to play. Because one thing's clear. This wasn't just a scandal. It was a setup. Every leak, every photo, every mysterious message, all part of something bigger. Someone out there is playing all three of them like pieces on a chessboard. And the next move could destroy what's left of their lives. So the question remains, who's really behind it? Is this about revenge? Power? Or something darker? Money, control, manipulation on a level none of them saw coming? Could this entire circus have been orchestrated just to keep the cameras rolling, the headlines spinning, and the truth buried? Or is this finally the moment when no one can hide behind PR statements anymore? I want to hear what you think. Every theory matters. Do you think Kandi was set up, or is she the mastermind? Was Tiny the innocent victim, or part of the plan? And what do you believe really happened in that courtroom when those jail calls played out? Hit that like button if you've been following this story from the start. Subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next, because trust me, this isn't over. The next leak, the next twist, the next truth could drop at any second. Stay alert, stay curious. Because in this story, silence doesn't mean peace. It means someone's already preparing their next move.